Hi folks, it's me Michaela and welcome back to my channel. I'm here to do a little bit of an early November reading wrap up because this feels like the better time to do it than when it's a week into December, which is going to feel like 3 months from now. So I'm here with my reading wrap up. And it's kind of a bit of a weird month because it seems like I have barely read any books, but it's because I'm in the middle of two other books right now and I'm close to being done in them, but I haven't actually finished them. So I can't give a rating and said I read them in November, but I mostly read them in November. And we'll talk about that. I'll get to that because I'm a professional yapper. But I also fully wasn't doing as much reading in November because I was really hyper focusing on my knitting. I finished this sweater. This is the Flurry sweater by Ulan Knitwear and I'm obsessed with it. I love it. It's amazing. I also last night finished knitting the Sophie hood by Petite Knit. So I have this now as well. I'm so excited for this. I love wearing my scarves as a hood when it's snowing, especially with wool coats and stuff. They don't have hoods in them, so I was know what I need is a scarf that already has a hood in it so that I don't have to do the weird folding the scarf around and then tucking it in and then trying to finesse it to cover my head. This one just does that naturally, so that's super exciting. And now I kind of have run out of knitting projects and I'm sad, so I guess I'll get back to reading because I have to buy more yarn before I do the next sweaters, which I'm going to be making some sweaters for my nibblings and I'm super excited for that. But yes, reading. So I wasn't reading quite as much as I kind of thought I would be because I was I need to knit this sweater, I need to do it. And it's when it's the nights are getting so cold and it's getting dark so early, do you know what you want to do? You want to do a really cozy hobby. And for me, knitting was just the epitome of coziness. And you can binge watch so much television while you're knitting and feel it's a productive waste of your time because you made a thing instead of just sitting there and binge watching and then you feel you accomplished nothing. But if you knit something while you're binge watching, suddenly you're fantastic, amazing. It's honestly a life hack. So let's talk about November reading. In November, I did finish 3 books. Like I said, I've been reading more than that, but the number of books I finished in November is 3. I read a general fiction literary book, I read a romance book, and I read a fantasy book. One of them was loaned digitally through the library. The other 2 were books that I physically owned and read. 2 of them were new to me and one was a reread. I read a total of 1,213 pages in November of finished books. Like I said, I technically read many more pages than this. It just doesn't count because I haven't finished the books yet. They'll be in next month, which averages to 404 pages a book and about 40 pages a day. And then I had an average rating of 3.7, which it's fine, but I love to give a 4-star rating. So if I'm not giving things 4-star rating, it's not my best reading month. But all of my reading is good because I've said it before, I feel I've really pinpointed knowing what I'm going to enjoy in a book and picking those reads. I like to pick things that I feel are going to be really reliable. The first book I finished reading in November was Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. Finally got around to this. This is the book I read digitally through the library. And I ended up giving this a 3.5. It was my least favorite of the Sally Rooney I've read. I've also read Normal People and I read Conversations with Friends. And I would say my order for them would be Normal People, Conversations with Friends, and then Intermezzo. I think her writing is really good. This whole book is using chess and this complicated brother relationship as a vessel to discuss grief, and especially grief at different parts of your life because there's a really wide age gap between these 2 brothers. So that was all really nice and lovely. I just didn't connect to the characters that much, so I found it kind of hard to really love it because I just didn't feel that connected to these characters. And I think that's just probably a combination of just I'm a woman. There wasn't too many female characters in the book. The main ones were the 2 brothers and then the dad. So that's not a personal relationship I can connect to easily because I'm a woman and a daughter. But it doesn't mean that I couldn't enjoy the story and see it. It just meant that I felt a bit distant from it. And then I also find Sally Rooney has this writing style where it flows super well because she doesn't use a lot of punctuation. There's no quotation marks for like characters speaking, and so you're just like kind of reading text, and then for the most part it's like pretty easy to distinguish. And there's other parts where it's like, did they say that, or did they think that? And that's kind of like a thought-provoking thing in the book to like, as a reader, to analyze like, oh, what do I think, and like how does it change this scenario if I think they said that versus if they thought it. But I did find it took me a little bit of time to get into, especially because Peter, the older brother, is like the first chapter, and I had to reread parts of the first chapter like multiple times, and it made sense because he's struggling with like substance abuse problems, and the way he's written is very much in the essence of him being under the influence of these substances. And so in that way, it's like really good because I think it like really encapsulated that state of mind of him really well. But especially for like it being the first chapter, I was just like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm hella confused. And then I had to like reread it a bunch. And one thing about me is if I have to reread too much in a book, it really throws me out of the story. And I found that just a tad too much happening at the beginning of the book. It took me a bit too long to kind of like feel the flow of the writing of this. And then this was like a pretty big book. It's like 450 to 500 pages, I think, which is like a pretty chunky book for like general fiction, I think. Like I feel like a lot of fantasy stuff, you're establishing like a whole world. It's common to have like chunkier books. For like a general fiction literary novel, I feel like tend to be a little bit more condensed. So then taking so long to like get into it, and then I was like, oh my god, there's still so much book left. And it wasn't even necessarily that I like wasn't enjoying the book, but I just felt like there was a mild barrier of entry for me with picking this book up. So I don't know if any of that makes sense. Hopefully it does. But that's kind of like my thoughts on that. I then did my first reread of The Hunger Games in 10 years. This is actually going to be in a reading vlog, hopefully in December, maybe the new year, let's be honest, because I'm not into binge reading series like back to back anymore. So I'm doing like a video of like rereading the Hunger Games trilogy, the initial trilogy, for the first time in a decade, but like it might take me a while to do it because it's like I read a book and then I'm like reading some books in between, and then I'll get to the next book and I'll vlog it then, just because I think I'm not really somebody who's like, yeah, I want to read series books back to back, and I think that'll negatively impact my thoughts on it if I spend too long in a world in like a solitary way. Like I kind of need to read this and then like read something else and then come back to the Hunger Games world, and then I enjoy it more than if I read this and then read the Hunger Games and then read the other Hunger Games and then like just stayed in this forever. But I did do my reread of the first book. This is the one I have like the most recollection of. I actually haven't seen the movies, but I've seen so many. Okay, can you turn your car alarm off? It's kind of like really aggressive. Finally. Okay, but this is the one that I've like remembered the most of, and even though I haven't seen the movies, I've seen so many clips of the movies that it's almost like I have seen the movies in a way. I just like haven't seen every clip of the movies in order in one sitting. So yeah, this is the one that I kind of was reading and I was like, yes, I see where this is going. If that's the same car. So this really was like one where I was like reading it and going, oh yeah, I knew this. And I think going into the other books, it's going to be a lot more like, this is brand new information, even though I definitely have read it all before. Like I feel like before rereading The Hunger Games, the first book, if somebody was like, oh, tell me a synopsis of The Hunger Games, I could have passed that test. If somebody asked me, give me a synopsis of Catching Fire, give me a synopsis of Mockingjay, I would be trying to like escape at a window because I don't know the answer to that. But I will say this is definitely like one of those books that I think for like YA fiction really like holds up and is like a good read, though I still like have some qualms and questions. That's just kind of like typical at this point. Like I'm an almost 30-year-old woman reading a YA novel, so like I will find teens sometimes insufferable, and I will find stories where like teenagers apparently have very small flaws annoying and unbelievable. But that's just like something that I kind of like move past at this point. Like I acknowledge I feel that way, but then it doesn't necessarily affect my rating of anything because I'm like, okay, yeah, I went into this expecting this. So I then read Reckless by Elsie Silver, and I gave this a 3.5 star as well. This was like probably my least favorite in the Chestnut Springs series so far, but it's still like a good book. It's mostly just that I felt like there was a little bit too much miscommunication happening in this for me. I do like Theo. I do like Winter. I really like getting to see like more of Winter, and then also Winter's relationship with her sister Summer. Yes, Summer and Winter, it's a whole thing. And so like that was like nice to have like that side story. And like the miscommunication is like the whole setup basically like for this. But then like once that miscommunication was over, it kind of felt like we just like kept doing more miscommunication stuff, and I'm like, can we get over this and have like a different problem? You know, like I have like a certain threshold for how much miscommunication I can handle in a romance book, because like it is logical to have miscommunication, because like that's just like human relationships, is like you're gonna miscommunicate at times, but like there's a certain level of it, especially in like dual POV books, where I'm just like, yeah, this is too much. Maybe if I was only in one person's head I could get this. Like when you're in the head of both people in the relationship, and then it's like both of them being like, oh, I think maybe they said that, and you're like, I can see the problem because I'm in both of your heads and I'm not happy about it. Like, guys, just talk. Versus I think like when you have like a single POV romance, you can get past a lot more miscommunication because you don't know what the other person is thinking. You only are in the head of the one person. So like I can kind of have like a larger threshold for miscommunication in like a single POV book. In this one, it just like kind of got a bit too much for me, but overall it was like still good and I'm happy with it. I only have one more book now in Chestnut Springs to read, which is Hopeless, and I'm hopeful to read that in December and then be done another series from my series spreadsheet, the infamous spreadsheet that runs my entire life. But yeah, those were like the 3 books I finished in November. I am also currently reading The Dark Prophecy by Rick Riordan, which is the 2nd book in the Trials of Apollo series. And then I also am working on a reading vlog for Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas, the next vlog in my Throne of Glass reading vlog series. And I'm like almost done this. I have like, I don't know, 60-70 pages left. Not actually done it, so I cannot give a final rating and talk about it in this, but I did read like another like almost 600 pages this month that I didn't really get to talk about. But that was like my November. I'm kind of hoping that like December I'll really hunker down for the reading, because I'll be over my knitting kick now that I've like finished my 2 projects I've really been like wanting to wear this winter. So I've been like, I want to get them done so I can wear them now immediately. Hopefully now I can like move on back to my reading hobby, or at least balance my reading hobby out a bit more, because oh my god, like the amount of knitting I've been doing, honestly, I feel like I should have like some kind of like elbow injury at this point from the amount of knitting I've been doing. But I haven't. I'm just that fit, okay? I've just been working out so much my knitting elbow. But yeah, that's my wrap up for the month. I hope you like it. If you did, make sure to give it a like, give it a little thumbs up. Happen to like me, consider subscribing. I'd be happy to have you. What was your favorite book in November? Do you have any other cozy hobbies you'd love to pick up in the winter? Do you knit or crochet? Do any other kind of fiber artwork? If you have read any of the books I talked about today, let me know your thoughts on them. And with that, I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.